In the autumn of 1978, my educated youth husband Jetson met with an accident on his way to work, leaving no remains behind. After crying all my tears in my early 20s, I gritted my teeth and took on the responsibility of caring for his widowed mother and younger siblings. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law were admitted to the best universities and both settled down in the city. My mother-in-law, who accidentally broke her leg, was also nursed by me through thick and thin until she could walk again. I was not yet 40, but already had a head full of white hair, looking like an old woman, and was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I didn't want to die, dragging my broken body to the city. I hoped my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, whom I had raised, could help me find a way, but to my shock, both my sister-in-law and brother-in-law refused my plea for help as I wandered the streets waiting to die. I unexpectedly saw my long-dead husband. He was dressed in a suit and tie, full of vigor, holding the hand of the educated youth El Wu. Only then did I realize that Jetson had never actually died. He had just faked his death to get rid of me, a country girl. All he wanted was to squeeze every last bit of labor out of me for the sake of his family. Furious, I chose to send them to meet the King of Hell with a single fire. Opening my eyes again, I found myself back 20 years ago. To my surprise, the entire Jetson family had also been reborn. In this life, they wanted even more, but I had already set the trap, waiting for them. At 20, Jetson was truly handsome, widely recognized as the most attractive man in the surrounding villages. His handsome face kept countless love-struck girls awake at night, but Jetson's family was too poor, a widowed mother in poor health raising 3 children. Jetson was the eldest, with a younger brother and sister below him. Among the 4 family members, Jetson was the only breadwinner. The others were just mouths to feed, good for nothing. In that era when people earned work points through labor, a pretty face couldn't put food on the table, so even though Jetson was handsome, and even though everyone liked his looks, the fact that his family was dirt poor made all the love-struck girls who fancied him back off. I was the only fool who didn't care about Jetson's poverty or see his family as a burden. I truly, deeply liked Jetson. I ran after him, chopping firewood and cutting grass for his family. Jetson's mother was in poor health and couldn't work in the fields, needing work points, so after finishing my own tasks, I helped her with her work and even gave her family the hard-earned work points I had accumulated. When Jetson's household had no rice, flour, oil, or salt, I took supplies from my own home to give to them, even if it meant being scolded or going hungry myself. Despite all the unpaid efforts I made for Jetson's family, Jetson's attitude toward me remained indifferent, neither good nor bad. Whenever I gave them things or helped with their chores, they never refused. Yet, Jetson never once said they liked me or wanted to be with me. My father was the village chief, and he once warned me, saying that Jetson didn't seem like a good guy at first glance. He was just stringing me along to get benefits from me, trying to make me give up on Jetson. But I wouldn't listen, blinded by love, and kept chasing after Jetson as before. Finally, on the 300th day of my pursuit, Jetson hugged me one night when I went to his house to deliver eggs. That very night, Jetson made me his woman. Becoming Jetson's woman was something I had dreamed of. I thought Jetson had finally seen my worth, and that my hardships were about to pay off. Little did I know, Jetson never had even the slightest affection for me. He agreed to be with me only because El Wu, the educated youth he liked, had rejected his confession. Jetson has always been fond of El Wu, the educated urban youth sent to the countryside. El Wu was an educated urban youth sent to the countryside, delicate in appearance, gentle in speech, and cultured. It was said she was preparing for university exams while working in the rural areas. Jetson was also preparing for university, so the two had common ground and, over time, developed feelings for each other. However, although El Wu liked Jetson as a person, the sight of his burdensome family made her hesitate and reconsider. Jetson didn't just confess his feelings to El Wu once. El Wu had been stringing Jetson along several times before finally rejecting him outright. Deeply hurt, Jetson chose me in a fit of anger. In my past life, after Jetson had taken everything from me, I became utterly devoted. Toiling like a beast of burden for his entire family, I did all the work for his family. Not only did I serve them like a slave, but I also dragged my parents into serving them as well. Jetson didn't have to work and could focus solely on studying. Eventually getting admitted to university after the reinstatement of college entrance exams, I thought the man I chose was capable, so I foolishly continued supporting Jetson through college. I worked myself to the bone in the countryside, earning money and work points, while asking my parents to help take care of Jetson's family. Yet he rekindled his old flame with El Wu at university. He used the money I worked so hard to earn to buy clothes, food, and drinks for El Wu. After I supported Jetson through college, he and El Wu were both assigned jobs in the city. Jetson looks down on me, yet he doesn't want to lose someone like me who has been wholeheartedly devoted to his family, to keep exploiting me, making me work like a slave for his family, taking care of his frail mother and his young siblings. Jetson shamelessly devised a fake death plan to make me serve his family like a slave. Jetson's fake death plan was known to his mother, younger brother, and sister. They all helped Jetson deceive me. His entire family are nothing but despicable beasts. When I was reborn, I was carrying a large sack of flour on the path leading to Jetson's house. I accidentally slipped and fell. Lying on the ground, I stared dumbfounded at my surroundings, confirming that I had returned to 20 years ago. I got up like a fool, crying and laughing, shouldered the flour, and turned to head home. The Jetson family can keep dreaming if they think they'll get any free flour from me. From now on, not a single grain of rice or a drop of water will they get to take advantage of me. Seeing me return dirty and carrying a bag of flour, my parents were both surprised. My father asked me irritably, "Why are you back? Didn't you say the Shen family had no food and you were going to deliver it to them?" "Mom, Dad," I said in a muffled voice, "I've figured it out. Jetson and I are impossible. From now on, I won't think about him anymore, and I won't send them anything again." "Really?" My parents' eyes flashed with joy, but they still didn't quite believe I would give up. "You're not lying to us, are you, really?" I solemnly swore. "If I ever have even the slightest thought about Jetson again, may I die a horrible death." My parents were overjoyed by my change and eagerly pressed me for the reason. Of course, I couldn't explain to them that I had lived a second life and knew Jetson's family were all ungrateful beasts. I simply said I had suddenly come to my senses and didn't want to be involved with Jetson's family, who had nothing to offer. Since I've decided not to get involved, I must start cutting ties with everything. The first thing to address is naturally my work points. In my past life, I gave all my work points to the Shen family, shamelessly living off the points my parents earned. Now, I won't give my hard-earned work points to these ungrateful wolves in sheep's clothing. I remembered that this month's work points haven't been allocated to Jetson's household yet, so I rushed out in a panic to find the village accountant. The accountant was tallying work points when I rushed in, sweating profusely. "Uncle Lee, are my work points still there?" Was just about to transfer them to the Shen family. Honestly, that Shen family only worked a little over 10 days this month. With 4 mouths to feed, how could 10 days worth of work points possibly be enough? That family treats you like a beast of burden. Don't take this the wrong way, Lena, but what exactly do you see in Jetson? Is it just his face? Can looks put food on the table? Accountant Lee, who's on good terms with my parents, lectured me with an air of exasperation at my perceived foolishness. I immediately responded, "Uncle Lee, from now on, my work points belong to me alone, not to the Shen family." Accountant Lee's eyes widened like copper bells when she heard me say that. "Lena, are you serious? You're not joking, are you?" "I'm not joking. I was confused before, but now I'm clear-headed. I'll never help the poor again." Hearing this, Accountant Lee was overjoyed. "It's about time. Let me tell you, you better not go back on your word." "Never. I'd rather die than do it again." After finishing the discussion about work points with Accountant Lee, I finally felt at ease and prepared to head home. As I passed by the reed marshes near the village stream, I heard a woman's delighted voice coming from within the reeds. "Jet, you're back too. That's wonderful." The sweet, delicate voice immediately made me stop in my tracks, and I tiptoed quietly toward the reed marshes. The countryside at night was pitch black, with 2 faint figures barely visible standing in the reed marshes. "I'm back, Elle. I thought only I had returned. I never expected our whole family would come back. The heavens are really playing a joke on us. Why make us return to this era of utter poverty? Our good life had just begun in our previous lifetime." Jetson was angrily complaining. "Who knows which bastard set fire to our family's house? If I ever find out who she is, I won't let her off the hook. In my previous life, After discovering that Jetshin's family had deceived me, I sneaked to their residence on a dark and windy night, locked the door from the outside, and set it ablaze. I listened to their family wailing in agony as they were consumed by the flames, screaming to their deaths, then picked up the rat poison I had prepared long ago and drank it, so until their dying breath, the Shun family never knew it was me who killed them all. Elwoo also complained, "Yeah, if we're getting a second chance, why not let us go back to when the good days began?" The thought of facing heavy labor in the countryside again, scrimping and saving, and taking the college entrance exams just makes me unhappy. There's no way around it. Since we're back, from now on we must make good use of that fool Lena and start planning our lives in advance. Yes, we can keep taking advantage of that fool Lena. I'll string Lena along just like in our past life, making her and her family work for me to earn labor points. Eventually, we'll have Lena do your chores too, so both of us can focus solely on studying for the college entrance exams. Nothing will distract us, and this time we'll perform even better than before. The two scumbags quickly reached an agreement and began scheming ways to exploit me. Hearing this, I let out a silent, cold laugh. I never expected that Jetshin and Elwoo had also been reborn. The reborn Jetshin and Elwoo actually wanted to use me first. Damn couple, just you wait. I picked up a few stones and hurled them straight at Jetshin and Elwoo's faces. Getting hit by rocks is no joke. Jetshin and Elwoo were howling in pain from my throws. In the pitch darkness, he and Elwoo were hiding here, completely unprepared for such a sudden misfortune. Jetshin, in excruciating pain, wanted to cry for help, but I acted before he could. I pinched my throat and shouted in a strange, exaggerated voice, "Help! Adultery! Someone's committing adultery in the reeds. Come catch the adulterers." With my strange and loud cries, the patrol team quickly arrived. Who's fooling around? Jetshin and Elwoo were terrified out of their wits upon hearing the patrol team's voices. At this time, engaging in illicit relationships would lead to severe consequences. Besides, they still wanted to exploit me as their workhorse. Naturally, they would rather die than have their relationship exposed. Jetshin and Elwoo, fleeing desperately through the reeds, then, in their panic, they stumbled and rolled into the river. The winter river was far from pleasant. The two struggled in the icy water before being rescued by the patrol team and taken away for questioning. As the instigator, I happily strode back home. I lay in bed all night planning how to deal with those ungrateful wolves in the Shun family. As a result, I didn't fall asleep until the early hours of the morning. Just as I was sleeping soundly, I heard the door being banged loudly. Accompanying the banging was the voice of Jetshin's mother, Chen Meifan. Lena, are you home?" I slowly opened the door and was immediately met with the sight of Chen Meifan's detestable face. Chen Meifan probably didn't know about Jetshin being taken away by the patrol team. She had waited at home all night yesterday for the flour, but I never delivered it. Chen Meifan grew anxious. With no rice in the pot, she came straight to my house to find me. She forced a smile on her face. "Lena, we're out of rice at home. You promised to give us a bag of flour," leaning against the doorframe. I replied, "Flour, I did promise you that, but my mother gave it to my aunt yesterday." "What?" Hearing that the promised flour was gone, Chen Meifan's face fell. "Then what are we supposed to eat?" Looking at her entitled expression, I felt such resentment that I truly wanted to rush over and slap her hard across the face. Eat your mother." I was barely holding back from taking action when I saw my mom come back from outside carrying a cloth bag. Hearing Chen Meifan's words, her face immediately darkened. "What you eat has nothing to do with my Lena." But Lena promised." "What did Lena promise you? Does our Lena owe your Shun family something? I've never seen such shameless people. Don't you have hands and feet of your own? All you know is freeloading without lifting a finger." My mom gets furious whenever she sees Jetshin's family and spat at Chen Meifan. "Disgusting creatures, full of wicked schemes. There's not a decent one among you. Your son was caught by the patrol team last night for fooling around with someone else's wife and is being interrogated. Instead of figuring out how to save him, you have the nerve to come to our house begging Lena for food." "What? Jet was caught by the patrol team?" Chen Meifan was stunned by my mom's words. "Jetshin went out with Elwoo last night, and their whole family knew about it. They were aware that Jetshin and Elwoo were developing their relationship outside, so it was certain they would sleep together. That's why Chen Meifan wasn't in a hurry." What she was anxious about was that there was no rice left at home to cook. She had originally planned to wait for Jetsun to come back and solve the problem, but she couldn't bear the hunger anymore, so she came to me to ask for some. Little did she expect to hear the news that Jetsun had been taken away by the patrol team. Chen Meifen panicked and, forgetting about the food, turned and ran. My mom raised her voice and shouted after her, "I'm warning you, stay away from my Lena. If I catch you tricking her into giving you food and drinks again, you'll see what I do to you." After scolding Chen Meifen, my mom poked my head with her finger. "Listen to me, Jetsun was caught fooling around with that El Wu. He's no good. Stay away from him and his whole family from now on." I hugged my mom cheerfully. "Got it, nothing like that will happen again. Mom, you're amazing. Next time Chen Meifen comes around, just chase her away for me. Not just Chen Meifen. If anyone from the Shen family comes looking for me, you and Dad have to help me shoo them all away." My mom was overjoyed to see such a big change in me. "Don't worry, if that bunch of bloodsuckers dare to pester you again, I'll beat them to death." Jetsun and El Wu were detained by the patrol team overnight and interrogated for more than 10 hours. The two stubbornly refused to admit to having an affair, insisting they had just happened to run into each other. The patrol team had no evidence to prove they were having an affair, so they had no choice but to release them. However, they weren't let off scot-free. They were given punishment. Jetsun and El Wu were assigned double the workload to complete. Euphemistically called reforming their thinking through labor, Jetsun and El Wu are already swamped with studying for the college entrance exams, barely able to handle their own tasks, yet they still expected me to take the fall for them. Now, with double the workload, you can imagine how much of a headache it must be. Jetsun naturally thought of me and came to find me as soon as he got out. In my past life, I was always the one chasing after Jetsun. While he acted aloof and never took the initiative to seek me out, but this time was different. Jetsun had no food at home and had to cope with heavy labor, so he had no choice but to come to me for help. So when I saw Jetsun appear while I was at home savoring the ribs my mom had simmered for 3 hours, greasy-lipped and content, I wasn't the least bit surprised. Jetsun swallowed hard as he saw the pile of ribs in my bowl. "Lena, could you help me?" "No." I cut him off before he could finish. "Jetsun, aren't you into playing around? If that's the case, why not keep doing that? Why come to me?" "No, Lena, I didn't. You were caught by the patrol team and locked up for a night, and you still deny it. Do you think I'm stupid? I'm warning you, Jetsun. Don't come looking for me. Lena, am not that cheap." Jetsun had never received such inhuman treatment from me before. His face darkened instantly, and he stormed off in anger. I watched his retreating figure with a cold laugh. "So you have pride? Huh, let's see how long that pride of yours lasts." Jetsun's backbone didn't last 3 hours. In the afternoon, when Chen Meifen went to settle the work points, she discovered that my work points had been revoked and wouldn't be given to her family, which made her furious. Chen Meifen had a heated argument with Accountant Li, who was handling the work point settlement, demanding that he transfer my work points to her family. Only after Accountant Li rebuked Chen Meifen did she realize the severity of the situation. How could the work points earned over 10 days possibly be enough to feed a family of 4? Their family had already grown accustomed to living well with my help. Now, having to eat cornbread mixed with wild vegetables every meal and going a whole month without a trace of meat would drive anyone mad. If it were the Chen Meifen family from their previous life, who were used to hardship, they might have endured it, but the current Chen Meifen family had returned from a life of comfort. They can't endure this hardship, and if they don't want to suffer, they have no choice but to come begging me. Chen Meifen was the first to come and explain. "Lena, my jet has absolutely nothing to do with El Wu. Don't believe the rumors outside." "Is that so? Are you sure there's really nothing?" "Absolutely nothing," Chen Meifen affirmed, and the 2 heartless scoundrels who came with her, Shun Shouting and Shun Lame, also nodded in agreement. "Lena, my brother would never like El Wu. The one he's always liked is you. Heh, lying through your teeth just for a bit of food," I scoffed. "I don't believe it. If they're truly unrelated, let El Wu and Jetsun come explain it to me in person." Naturally, Jetsun didn't want to lower himself before me, but reality left him no choice. The Shun family has been living off my charity all along. Now I neither provide relief to his family nor help them with their work. Chen Meifen had no choice but to take Shun Shouting and Shun Lame to work to earn work points. Chen Meifen was in poor health and worked slowly, Neither Shen Shouting nor Shen Lame had done any work before. When they followed Chen Meifen to the fields, they either complained of exhaustion or hunger. The three of them couldn't even earn half the work points others did in a single day. Jet Shen was assigned double the workload, and so was El Wu. He had previously relied on me to help with his own workload, let alone finding time to assist El Wu. After a few days of this, all of them were miserable. People who have grown accustomed to good times naturally can't endure hardship. Unable to sit still, they gathered behind closed doors at night to discuss countermeasures. Shen Lame and Shen Shouting called out to Jet Shen in unison, "Brother, go find Lena. If you don't go look for Lena soon, our whole family is going to work ourselves to death and starve." Jet Shen looked at El Wu, still somewhat reluctant. You see, El Wu couldn't take it anymore either. "Let's go find Lena. I really can't hold on any longer." They didn't want to work, only to reap without sowing. The only sucker these bitches could think of to exploit after their little scheme was me. So Jet Shen and El Wu came to see me together. After not seeing him for a few days, Jet Shen had become a completely different person. Not only was he sallow and emaciated, but there was also a huge hole in his head, the wound from when I hit him with a rock that night. And El Wu was no exception. The heavy labor made her dark and thin, with none of the intellectual beauty from her previous life. Jet Shen, unwilling in his heart, humbly apologized to me. "Lena, El Wu and I are here to clarify. There's really nothing between us." El Wu immediately followed up, saying, "It was just a misunderstanding. I accidentally fell into the river, and then Jet Shen bravely came to my rescue. Then people misunderstood." "Is that so?" I crossed my arms and squinted my eyes, "But that's not what people outside are saying. Some say they saw you two secretly meeting late at night, even kissing. This is completely fabricated. Lena, you mustn't believe these gossiping women." Jet Shen couldn't care about anything else and desperately tried to explain. I sighed. "Even if there's something between you and Wu Jiqing, it has nothing to do with me. There's no need to explain to me. After all, we're just fellow villagers." Seeing me react this way, Jet Shen had no choice but to swallow his pride and plead, "Lena, I actually like you, really," I said with a half smile. "Wu Jiqing is still right here. Are you sure you really like me? Really, the one I've always liked is you." "Then swear it. Swear in front of El Wu that if you're lying to me, you'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. If you have any relationship with El Wu, may both of you be childless and never rise again in this lifetime." Hearing me say this, Jet Shen's expression changed. He certainly didn't want to swear, but having gone this far in the act, there was no turning back. Jet Shen had no choice but to grit his teeth and swear, "I have no relationship with El Wu whatsoever. If I'm lying, may I be struck by lightning and die a horrible death." I smiled at El Wu, whose face had turned grim. "Wu Jiqing, it's your turn now." El Wu also proceeded to swear a solemn oath, and my expression softened. "Jet Shen, since you claim to like me, then send a matchmaker to my home to propose marriage." "Excellent." This. Jet Shen hadn't anticipated I would make such a demand. "Is this too much to ask? It's just sending a matchmaker to propose. Can't you even do that? Are you trying to deceive me? My parents have always said you're no good, that you don't really like me and are just using me. Unless you send a matchmaker to propose at my home, I won't believe you anymore." Seeing me like this, Jet Shen wouldn't let go. After all, he was still waiting for me to toil like a beast of burden for his family just as I did in my past life. After all, he was waiting to fake his death after getting into college and continue living happily ever after with El Wu. Jet Shen immediately agreed without hesitation. "Lena, don't worry. I'll find someone to propose. I'll go find someone to propose right now. I'll marry you." After the discussion was settled, Jet Shen hired a matchmaker to come to my home to propose marriage. My parents didn't object and agreed to Jet Shen's marriage proposal, but they had some conditions. They had no problem with me marrying Jet Shen, but after raising me for so many years, they couldn't just let me marry into Jet Shen's family without anything in return. My parents demanded that Jet Shen's family show sincerity and even announced publicly that whatever bride price Jet Shen gave, they would double it as my dowry. Hearing this, Jet Shen's family started scheming again. In my past life, after Jet Shen was rejected by El Wu, he angrily turned to me and took me by force. Foolishly, I lost my virginity to him, and Chen Meifen made a big deal out of it. Humiliated beyond measure, I ended up moving into his house without any formal proposal or dowry. My parents were furious and ignored me for a long time. Alone in the Shen household, I worked tirelessly for nearly 2 years. Finally, my parents couldn't bear it any longer and reached out to help me. Jet Shen knew that my parents wouldn't support us, and we'd have a tough life. Now that my parents have promised double the dowry, his whole family is fixated on my parents' dowry. After discussing it among themselves, Chen Meifen started borrowing money everywhere to gather the betrothal gifts. Given the Shen family's situation, they couldn't borrow money on their own, but because Jet Shen was marrying me, people gave the Shen family some face out of respect for my parents. Chen Meifen and Jet Shen actually gathered quite a dowry to bring to my home. To prevent my parents from changing their minds, Jet Shen's family invited many people to carry the dowry in a grand procession to my home for the betrothal. This matter was known throughout the entire village, in front of the whole village. My father made Jet Shen swear never to betray me, and even invited elderly elders to witness it. After the marriage was agreed upon, if Jet Shen's family were to betray me, not a single cent of the dowry would be returned. The Shen family thought I would wholeheartedly help them after the marriage proposal, but they were wrong again. I pretended to have broken my leg and stayed at home, refusing to step outside. The Shen family not only received no help from me but also ended up drowning in debt. His family truly couldn't hold on any longer. Along with Jet Shen's family, El Wu also couldn't hold on. In my past life, I never targeted El Wu in the slightest. She was good at pretending, so her days in the village weren't that hard. This life, after her affair with Jet Shen was blown out of proportion, the villagers treated her unkindly, giving her dirty looks, making sarcastic remarks, and assigning her all the hard and exhausting work. El Wu was waiting for Jet Shen to persuade me to assign her easier work. Little did she expect that after my relationship with Jet Shen became public, she not only didn't get the easy job as a scorekeeper but instead became even more overworked, miserable and unable to bear it any longer. El Wu went to discuss countermeasures with Jet Shen. To avoid suspicion, the two dared not discuss openly and continued to meet secretly outside. Last time, they chose the reed marshes and were discovered. This time, instead of the reed marshes, they went to the bamboo grove on the back mountain. To be safe, Jet Shen first went to scout and wait at the back mountain. When El Wu arrives, she should mimic 2 bird calls, and Jet Shen will respond to confirm it's safe. Upon arriving, El Wu followed their plan and made 2 bird calls as agreed with Jet Shen. When Jet Shen responded with a sound, she immediately ran over with big strides, after taking only 2 steps. A gust of wind sounded behind her head, and something heavy struck her. El Wu silently passed out. Jet Shen waited above for quite a while but didn't see El Wu return. Anxious, he went down to check, only to hear a gust of wind behind his head before he too collapsed to the ground. Jet Shen and El Wu were awakened by the noise. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves tightly bound. Jet Shen was only in his underwear, while El Wu had nothing but a coat draped over her for cover. The surrounding air buzzed with murmurs, the loudest among them being the voice of the village militia captain. I always thought there was something off about them. Ever since I caught them fooling around in the reed marshes last time, I've had my suspicions. So I've been keeping a close eye on them, and sure enough, I saw them on the hill, clothes all disheveled, clinging to each other. I immediately had them tied up on the spot. My God, those shameless dogs, were they really fooling around like that? Didn't Jet Shen already propose to Lena? How could he do something so disgraceful? I told you their relationship wasn't normal long ago, but none of you believed me. Now we've caught them red-handed. I wonder if Lena knows about this. Lena probably doesn't know yet, does she? Poor Lena, she's given her all to the Shen family, working for them, contributing work points, bringing food and drinks, completely devoted to Jet Shen, and now that they're engaged, Jet Shen treats her like this. She might just want to die. Shameless scoundrels. If they like each other so much, why not be together openly? What's the point of sneaking around like this? It's clearly just to take advantage of Lena. Exactly. Disgusting. The surrounding villagers spat at Jet Shen and El Wu. Jet Shen tried to explain, it's not like that, we didn't, still making excuses. The facts are clear, no amount of excuses can change that. Quickly inform Lena and see what she thinks. Amid the surrounding murmurs, I appeared with disheveled hair. Seeing me, Jet Shen instinctively blurted out, Lena, it's not what you think. Of course, I wasn't going to wait for his explanation. Furious, I lunged at him, raining down blows on Jetshin without mercy. Deceiving me. Jetshin, you actually deceived me. You swore there was nothing between you and El Wu. Yet you've been two-faced. You deserve to die. Jetshin had no chance to defend himself. I didn't hold back, and soon he was howling in pain, blood streaming from his nose and mouth. The simple villagers despise nothing more than shameless scoundrels like Jetshin, who exploit others and break moral codes. No one stopped me. Some even handed me tools to hit harder. With 2 lifetimes worth of hatred to vent, I was thoroughly enjoying the beating. Chen Meifan rushed over with Shen shouting and Shen Lame upon hearing the news. Seeing Jetshin covered in blood from my beating, Chen Meifan couldn't bear it. At that moment, she wailed and rushed over to stop them. My poor child. Lena, why are you hitting my son? Stop it right now, and you still have the nerve to cry. Look at Jetshin and El Wu. Don't you understand what's going on? This whole family is rotten. Seems to me they're all on good terms with El Wu. They're just playing dumb, trying to exploit Lena and make her their workhorse. Exactly, only a foolish girl like Lena would fall for a show-off like Jetshin. Who else would want him? What does he have besides a pretty face? I turned around upon hearing these discussions and grabbed Chen Meifan. Your whole family knew about Jetshin and El Wu's affair. If that's the case, why did you still come to my family to propose marriage? Was it really just to use me to work for your family? To have me deliver rice and flour to your household? Without waiting for Chen Meifan to answer, I burst into loud sobs. The Shen family is truly wicked. All these days, using up so much of my work points, eating so much of my food, it was all a deception. I won't stand for it. I want to break off the engagement with Jetshin. Break off the engagement. This marriage must be called off. My parents also rushed over in a hurry. Not only must the engagement be called off, but the work points. Grain, oil, rice, and flour that the Shen family swindled from our Lena must all be returned to us. That's right. How can they bully people like this? Utterly shameless. The Shen family must return everything Lena has given them. I wondered why their family was so eager with the betrothal gifts. Turns out they were eyeing Lena's dowry while still eating from their own pot. Dream on. Jetshin is the one who messed around and cheated. Not a single betrothal gift will be returned. On the contrary, he must fully reimburse everything Lena has given their family over these 2 years. Yes, that's exactly right. The Shen family must return all of Lena's belongings. And that El Wu shouldn't be let off easily either. She clearly knew Jetshin was engaged to Lena, yet still had an affair with him. They must be punished. The villagers angrily condemned Jetshin's family, demanding punishment for both Jetshin and El Wu. I saw the despair in Jetshin and El Wu's eyes. Having been reborn, they had planned everything so meticulously, expecting me to continue slaving away for them while they studied to get into the best universities. But now, with disciplinary actions on their records, do they still hope to get into a good university? Absolutely impossible. Everything proceeded smoothly according to my plan. That very day, I brought the village secretary and accountant with the ledger to Jetshin's house to settle accounts. The work points Jetshin's family had taken from me over the past 2 years were clearly and meticulously recorded. No turning back. I have only one demand. They must return all the work points that belong to me. They must give back all the grain, oil, rice, and flour I sent over. My request is not excessive. The villagers all see what's happening and despise Jetshin's family for their actions, condemning them for being dishonest. Jetshin's family had no choice but to comply with my demand and return everything I had given. Their family went through great trouble to borrow the betrothal gifts for me, which now cannot be returned. This is an unwritten rule in the countryside. Jetshin and El Wu had an affair. He was the one at fault first. He has no reason to demand the betrothal gifts sent to my family be returned. The Shen family suffered heavy losses, making their already difficult life even harder. Jetshin also had to stay in bed for several days after I gave him a good beating. Everything that could be moved out of the house was taken away by my parents as if it were only natural. There was a pile of debts outside that had to be repaid. The entire Shen family was gloomy and distressed. Jetshin, still not fully recovered, lay in bed filled with hatred and regret. This shouldn't have happened. Where did it all go wrong? Shen shouting and Shen Lame, those 2 little brats, began to blame Jetshin and El Wu. It's all your fault, brother. Why did you have to meet El Wu in secret? Clearly, in our past life, You didn't meet her secretly, it's all because of your secret meeting that everything got messed up. You two are entirely responsible. How could Jetsun take responsibility? After such a scandal, both he and El-woo had a black mark on their records. And the idea of them getting into university became nothing more than a pipe dream. Jetsun was furious, but could only rage helplessly. The Shun family, being a widow with an orphan in the village, had no say in anything, and he had committed that disgraceful act of offending our family. On top of that, he owed so much debt, with creditors coming to his door every day demanding repayment. Faced with such overwhelming debt, he had no choice but to work desperately to repay it. But he only had two hands. The village gossip about him was extremely unfavorable, and no one was willing to help him. Everyone would steer clear of Jetsun when they saw him. It wasn't just Jetsun who was looked down upon. Chen Meifan, Shun Shouting, and Shun Lamei were also despised. The entire family was assigned the hardest labor and given only meager rations that barely kept them from starving. After all, they owed so much debt that it had to be repaid first. Life was unbearably hard. And Shun Lamei, Shun Shouting, and Chen Meifan simply couldn't endure it any longer. They had always believed that rebirth would bring them better days, which made them endure their current suffering to the extreme. What kind of situation was this? Anyway, the Shun household was constantly filled with arguments, and the wailing and shouting were loud enough to shake the heavens. Everyone would gather frequently to watch the spectacle. The conflict within the Shun family didn't just stay within the household, it even spilled over onto El-woo. Apart from Jetsun, Chen Meifan, Shun Shouting, and Shun Lamei all believe that El-woo's existence is the reason for their miserable lives. After all, in their past life, El-woo rejected Jetsun, and in this life, El-woo and Jetsun have been secretly maintaining a lingering connection. Shun Lamei and Shun Shouting spit at the sight of El-woo, while Chen Meifan constantly spews vulgar insults. Cursing El-woo won't change their situation. Shun Lamei and Shun Shouting were never decent people to begin with. Although their bodies were small, their minds carried the wisdom of several decades from their past lives. Seeing how things had unfolded, they knew Jetsun wouldn't live the comfortable life he had in his previous existence, but they were determined to secure a better future for themselves, for the sake of their own prospects. The two little brats took the initiative to offer Jetsun a scheme. Bro, since things have come to this, why don't you find a way to sleep with Lena and make your relationship with her official? Lena already adores your face. If you sleep with her, she'll definitely be devoted to you. That would lighten your burden. And we could continue our education. Don't worry, once we're living a better life, we won't forget you. Chen Meifan also thought this plan was feasible, but Jetsun refused. Elle is your sister-in-law. How could you ask me to be with Lena and betray Elle? What does El-woo have now? She can't work well, and her education is cut off. Marrying her would just mean another mouth to feed without any benefit. Are you willing to toil like an ox for this? Of course, Jetsun didn't want to, but he truly couldn't bear to part with El-woo. Shun Shouting, Shun Lamei, and Chen Meifan took turns trying to persuade him, but Jetsun was still hesitating. The mother and her two children were displeased. Although they also supported Jetsun and El-woo being together, that was the El-woo from their past life. She was a college graduate with a good job. Now El-woo has nothing. Why should she burden their family? After the mother and her two sons gathered together, they quickly came up with a solution. They couldn't let El-woo continue to be a burden on their family, so they had to take action against El-woo. Thus, the mother and her two sons set a trap, sending Shun Lamei to tell El-woo that Jetsun wanted to meet her at the abandoned temple at the edge of the village to discuss their future. El-woo has been having a very tough time lately, not only being targeted by the Shun family but also receiving cold looks from other villagers whenever they see her. Her reputation is completely ruined, and there's no hope left for her to return to the city for studies. So she can only pin her hopes on Jetsun taking responsibility for her, especially since she genuinely likes Jetsun's face. Yet the Shun family has been constantly blocking her from being with Jetsun, until now when there's suddenly a turn of events. She went to the appointment in high spirits, fully expecting to discuss marriage matters with Jetsun, only to find the middle-aged bachelor Lee Laosan waiting for her in the dilapidated temple. El-woo wanted to run. But how could Lee Laosan let the fat meat in his mouth fly away? He blocked El-woo, who resisted desperately but was too weak. The village shrine was at the entrance of the village, and no one could hear her cries for help. So El-woo was pinned down by Lee Laosan just like that. El-woo was not only knocked down by Lee Laosan, but also attracted a large crowd of onlookers after the incident. Facing the crowd, Lee Laosan claimed that El-woo had seduced him. He even pulled out numerous food ration coupons from El-woo's pocket and found the pastries and candies he had given her in her house during a search. Naturally, El-woo refused to admit any of it and vehemently denied the accusations. She said it was Shin La-mei who invited her over, and the person she wanted to meet was Jet Shin. Shin La-mei naturally denied it outright, and Jet Shin was equally confused. He hadn't asked his sister to invite El-woo, there were no witnesses. Only El-woo's one-sided defense of herself. Her defense was weak, and no one believed it. On the contrary, Old Lee III's words were highly credible. After all, in recent days, Old Lee III had been hovering around her, helping El-woo with tasks she couldn't finish and bringing her cooked meat dishes. Everyone believed El-woo had seduced Old Lee III just to lighten her own burden and for food and drink. El-woo's reputation was tarnished once again, and Old Lee III sent someone to propose marriage. El-woo refused to agree, but she and Old Lee III had already consummated their marriage. In these times, who would want a woman with a ruined reputation? After witnessing the woman he loved being slept with by Old Lee III, Jet Shin was in the worst mood possible. He still loved El-woo in his heart. But the thought of the disgraceful scene of El-woo and Old Lee III being watched by the crowd made it impossible for Jet Shin to get over it. He likes the pure El-woo and doesn't want a woman tainted by an old bachelor. His current reputation in the village means no one would be willing to marry him. Jet Shin has only two choices: either marry El-woo, who was defiled by Old Lee, or target me. Previously, he thought I was only good at work and lacked charm. But now my capability has become an advantage. If I could be persuaded to marry him, at least there would be someone to help with the household chores. Jet Shin tried to get close to me, but I never gave him any opportunity. Under these circumstances, their family discussed and decided to plot against me. Shin La-mei and Shin Shouting, those two wolf cubs, kept an eye on my movements, waiting for me to be alone. I've seen Shin La-mei and Shin Shouting following me several times. I know all too well what kind of heartless, ungrateful creatures this family is. Needless to say, they're following me with some sinister scheme in mind to plot against me. Since my rebirth, I've only given Jet Shin's family a small taste of punishment. I haven't even started playing for real yet. Since they're delivering themselves to their doom, I'll gladly accept it all. So I pretended not to know I was being followed and even deliberately created opportunities for them. There was a movie screening at the village hall in the evening, and I intentionally went alone to watch it. This was the perfect opportunity. So Shin La-mei and Shin Shouting immediately notified Jet Shin. So when I was passing through the reed marshes, Jet Shin suddenly jumped out and hugged me. Shin La-mei and Shin Shouting, seeing Jet Shin succeed, immediately went to find Chen Meifen. Chen Meifen immediately started shouting Jet Shin's name everywhere, saying that Jet Shin had gone to the reed marshes to catch fish at night and was afraid he might have fallen into the river, tearfully pleading with the neighbors for help. Although everyone despised Jet Shin's family, this was a matter of life and death. So a group of people, led by Chen Meifen, Shin Shouting, and Shin La-mei, marched in full force toward the reed marshes. From such a distance, Chen Meifen raised her voice. "Jet, doesn't Jet live there? I think I saw Jet's clothes in the reed marshes." Following Chen Meifen's cue, the group then pushed through the reeds. Upon seeing the scene before them, everyone's eyes widened in shock. The timid ones even let out screams. The bolder ones took a few steps back. How could this happen? Chen Meifen, who was being held back by the crowd, had no idea what was going on. Judging by everyone's expressions, she thought Jet Shin and I had been caught in the act. She gleefully pushed through the crowd. Jet, you." Chen Meifen didn't finish her sentence, stunned by the scene before her. How could? Shin Shouting and Shin La-mei were also eager to see the results, but being small, they couldn't squeeze through the crowd and were frantic. "Mom, say something. What's wrong with Big Brother? Say something. Your big brother is injured," someone answered. "What?" Shin La-mei and Shin Shouting thought they must have misheard. How could he get hurt? Jet Shin, a grown man, shouldn't have been hurt facing Lena, a woman, right? After all, Lee Laosan easily handled El-woo, so Jet Shin should have easily handled me too. As they were thinking this, they heard Chen Meifen let out a heart-wrenching wail. "My son, "Someone save my son, quick." Jetshin was carried out of the reed marsh, covered in blood and unconscious. His clothes were intact, but he wasn't wearing pants, under the flashlight's beam. It was clear that one of his legs had been crushed to a bloody pulp, barely hanging by a thin layer of skin and dragging on the ground. Jetshin was rushed to the town hospital overnight and later transferred to the county hospital. He couldn't keep one of his legs. Not only was it amputated, but the doctors also examined him and said that one of Jetshin's testicles had been crushed. He would never be a real man in this lifetime, of course. I wouldn't let Jetshin off easy. This was hatred spanning 2 lifetimes. In my past life, he schemed against me, and I loathed Jetshin to the bone. If only Jetshin had been willing to settle down and behave, I wouldn't have found an opportunity to deal with him. It's just that Jetshin's family is too vicious. Since they refuse to let it go, they even want to tie me to them. In my past life, I foolishly let Jetshin take my body, only to be humiliated by his family without any status or recognition. This time, he's even more insane, wanting to sleep with me and have everyone watch. He's trying to destroy me completely. In that case, there's nothing left to say. I'm someone who never forgets a slight. If Jetshin is looking for death, I'll grant him his wish. When Jetshin held me in the reed marshes, I didn't make a sound, nor did I even struggle. He thought I still had feelings for him and even tried to sweet-talk me. "Lena, it's always been you I've thought of. I don't like El-Woo at all. She's the one who's been clinging to me." I didn't speak, so he thought I believed his words and eagerly started taking off his pants, trying to force himself on me. Then, with ease, I gave him a swift grappling move, and Jetshin's facial features twisted in pain. He passed out from the pain. I picked up a large stone I had prepared earlier and smashed it down on one of Jetshin's legs. Hatred drove me to strike again and again until I was certain his leg was broken. Only then did I throw the stone into the water and walk away. So when Chen Meifan and her 2 children brought people to see, all they found was Jetshin covered in blood and unconscious. As for me, I never appeared from start to finish. The news of Jetshin losing a leg and becoming disabled caused Chen Meifan to faint several times in the hospital. She wept bitterly, overwhelmed with grief, and kept screaming that someone had harmed her son, insisting she would call the police. In the end, Chen Meifan didn't succeed in calling the police. Shen Lame and Shen Shouting stopped her. These 2 wolf cubs wouldn't dare let Chen Meifan call the police, as an investigation would inevitably expose their involvement. Jetshin would be arrested for rape, while I might at most face charges of excessive self-defense. These 2 vicious and shameless wolf cubs didn't want the matter to escalate. After explaining the pros and cons to Chen Meifan, she broke out in a cold sweat. After all, she was an adult, while Shen Lame and Shen Shouting were minors. She'd be the one going to jail without question. Chen Meifan didn't want the police to interrogate and uncover the truth of their scheme against her, so she abandoned the idea of calling the police. In this scheme, the most unfortunate and severely injured, Jetshin, only regained consciousness 3 days later, upon realizing he had lost a leg and become disabled. He fainted again from the shock. When Jetshin woke up, he made a scene, but was firmly restrained by Shen Lame and Shen Shouting, while Chen Meifan also covered his mouth to persuade him. "Son, we never expected things to turn out this way. Damn that Lena, she's utterly vicious and shameless. We won't let her get away with this. Just wait and see. I will definitely avenge this wrong." Shen Lame and Shen Shouting also comforted Jetshin. "Big brother, revenge is a dish best served cold. We will surely help you settle this score. For now, you just need to endure a little longer." The matter of reporting to the police was left unresolved, and by the time Jetshin was discharged from the hospital, a month had already passed. Life for the Shen family took a turn for the worse. Jetshin became disabled, unable to work, and all the household chores fell to Shen Lame, Shen Shouting, and Chen Meifan. The busy days passed one by one, and the college entrance examination was over. Neither Jetshin nor El-Woo was eligible to take the college entrance examination. Soon, Shen Lame and Shen Shouting would start elementary school, but if they went to school, who would do the household chores? Chen Meifan couldn't handle it alone, and Jetshin couldn't help either. So the dream of the 2 wolf cubs going to school was shattered just like that. Watching other children walk into school with their backpacks, Shen Lame and Shen Shouting could only sigh in despair. They hated me to death. Hated that I was different from my past life, hated that I refused to be their slave. The Shun family looked at me with eyes full of hatred, sharp as knives. If they could, they would have killed me. It's a pity they can only rage in helplessness. After all, they can't beat me, can't out-insult me. And there's nothing they can do. Soon, 3 years passed, and I turned 23. While Shun Lame and Shun Shouting were already 10 years old, they still hadn't started school. Continuing to toil in the fields day after day, backs bent under the sun, helping Chen Meifen with the farm work, the Shun family's life was the hardest in the village. Endless debts to repay and endless labor to endure, life had always been a struggle. Then one morning, Chen Meifen went to the mountains to gather firewood and fell into a ditch. Like Jetshun, she lost a leg. When I heard the news, I was overjoyed. Preparing for my wedding, I was to marry a soldier from the neighboring village. There are 2 siblings in the family, and our parents have very good temperaments. After meeting the soldier brother once, we both had a good impression of each other, and the matter was settled just like that. My parents didn't ask for a bride price from the soldier brother's family. Instead, they gave me quite a few things as dowry. Because I was about to get married, I was busy at home preparing the dowry. Upon hearing the news of Chen Meifen's accident, I was stunned at first, then burst into laughter. In my previous life, Chen Meifen had also broken her leg once. I thought she would have learned to be more careful this time around. Yet, I never expected that she couldn't even change this. With 2 disabled people in the Shun family now, Shun Shouting and Shun Lame can forget about going to school. They had to shoulder the burdens of life like adults. A few days before my wedding, I went to town to buy dowry items, and on my way back, I encountered Shun Shouting and Shun Lame, who were carrying firewood and drenched in sweat. The siblings were covered in sweat, looking pale and thin, dressed in tattered clothes. When we came face to face, the siblings' gazes at me were filled with hatred. I smiled at them and asked, "How does it feel?" "Much harder than your previous life, isn't it? Does it feel like living is worse than dying?" Hearing my words, Shun Lame and Shun Shouting's faces instantly paled. You came back too." "Indeed, I returned with you," I said with a smile. "You 2 ungrateful little beasts. In our past life, I gave you my all. How did you repay me? Did dogs devour your conscience?" Shun Shouting and Shun Lame were left speechless. I scoffed. "In your past life, it was because of me that you had good food, nice clothes, and the chance to go to school, to leave this place. Without me this time, let's see if you have what it takes to change your fate." Watching their faces flush red, I added the finishing blow. "Looks like it's impossible now. After all, there are still 2 cripples at home waiting for you to take care of. By the way, do you like the gifts I gave you?" The 2 wolf cubs finally caught on. "So my brother's misfortune was your doing, right? Is that not allowed? You're too vicious. What did my brother do to deserve this from you?" Shun Shouting glared at me. "Don't tell me you think I knew nothing about what you did to me in our past life." I smiled sweetly. "By the way, do you know how your family died in our past life?" I set the fire. "Is it you? It's actually you. You rejected my plea for help. With no way out, I happened to see the living Jetshun and El Wu facing death. How could I let you beasts go? So, I neatly sent you all to meet the King of Hell during your gathering." Under the hateful gazes of Shun Shouting and Shun Lame, I laughed wildly. "After starting over, I swore to make you beasts suffer a fate worse than death. So far, I've already made Jetshun, El Wu, and Chen Meifen endure unbearable torment. Now, only the 2 of you remain." Shun Shouting and Shun Lame turned pale. What are you going to do?" "Didn't I say it? I want you to live a life worse than death. Now it's your turn." With that, I left, laughing loudly. Left behind were Shun Lame and Shun Shouting, panicked and staring at each other in shock. They were trembling with fear, like birds startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. They were cautious, always on guard against me, but the one who was really going to strike at them wasn't me at all. It was their dear former sister-in-law, El Wu. I had old Li Third inform El Wu about Shun Lame and Shun Shouting's scheme. El Wu couldn't return to the city and was stuck in the countryside. How could she accept that? She hated Shun Shouting and Shun Lame, who had schemed against her, to the core. El Wu wanted revenge. The most unbearable thing is not death, but making the other party live a life worse than death. So El Wu's revenge was quite interesting. She knocked Shun Lame unconscious and scalded her face with boiling water, turning her into a hideous monster. As for Shun shouting, El Wu blinded him in one eye and chopped off 4 of his fingers. The entire Shun family became a group of disabled individuals supporting each other. While they were in unbearable agony, I had a grand and glorious wedding. The soldier my parents carefully selected for me was an exceptionally good man. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, and sister-in-law were all very kind. A year after getting married, I followed my soldier husband to the military base. Later, my husband was promoted and transferred to a big city, so I brought my in-laws, parents, and sister-in-law along with us. I never paid attention to or cared about the Shun family or El Wu again. I have a loving soldier husband and well-behaved children. My life is happy and fulfilling. Whether they are dead or alive has long ceased to matter to me.